Thank you so much for being here. I have my note cards, but I'm going to hopefully not need to use them too much. So I'm really excited about this conversation so that we can piggyback on some of the themes that I just talked about, but also some of the themes that we heard from the other panels. Before I get into that, I do want to highlight that mismatch that I showed with consumer time spent in media investment is probably most stark when we talk about the opportunity with digital audio. So digital audio, for most people in this room, if the stats are right, is about 32% of your consumption on a daily basis. But it's about 4% of total advertising investment. And so maybe just to warm us up or kick us off the right way, I'm going to start with you, Leanne. How much time are you spending, and this may be a trick question if there's other people from Spotify here, how much time are you spending with digital audio, and what does that time spent look like?
Sure. Before I get into that, I just want to agree with you on the delta between the consumption and the ad spend. And I think there is no other channel that's more poised for growth when we think of marketers introducing this into their omni-channel mix. So this is an exciting topic. And before I get into my consumption, I just want to ground everybody in Spotify. Spotify is the essential daily companion, and 92% of our users say it's part of their daily routine. That's 2 hours a day. It's the most home screen apped and the most important app people have. So when I think of how I engage, I listen to music first thing in the morning and until the end of day. I like to do a lot of running, so depending on my mood, I've got my playlist. I commute on the TTC. And in our home at dinner time, we try to minimize news and listen to music. It's a happy place. It's a mindset. And then towards the end of the day, for me, it's not about doom scrolling, sleep scrolling. That's when I would turn to podcasts. For me, podcasts are about entertainment and reflection. I highly recommend Good Hang with Amy Poehler. That's new to Spotify. I especially recommend her interview with Paul Rudd and Tina Fey. I also love Mel Robbins. I find her super inspirational. But back to listening, which I do most of the day, my music is authentically me. I like the 80s. I like the 90s. I like Taylor Swift. I like John Denver. I like Celine Dion. And I like AC/DC and Triumph. So there you go. It's authentically me.
I warned her that I might try to ask what the most embarrassing thing on your playlist was. But
I
you just
put it
covered
out there.
So many ground.
Yeah, I put it out there.
And then now I want to listen to John Denver. So yeah.
But that's what we call it, my Spotify. It's personalized and not to be judged.
Yeah. Andrea?
I don't listen to John Denver, but no offense.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I was surprised too by that number, and surprisingly, my number's pretty close to 2 hours as well. So Spotify is always on my home in Sonos until my kids hijack it, and then it's not my preference, but theirs. It moves from the me to we talked about a little bit earlier. And I'm a big podcaster, so I love to go running, and so listening to the Run Through by Vogue. We've got the World Federation of Advertisers Better Marketing Pod. These are all like back to back, so it's a bit of a change up. And what else? I feel like there's more. The Daily. Can't live without the Daily. So yeah, a lot of podcasts. And the other day, I couldn't get the podcast that I wanted to listen to, so I was trying to listen to the Met. The runway at the Met Gala was on. And I couldn't find a podcast that was live. So I said, I'm just going to click on, I'll do a live stream and I'll use it as a podcast. So here is a safety tip. That does not work because you cannot resist looking at the screen. So I ended up with myself, my iPhone, and myself on the sidewalk. So digital audio also plays a safety role, I would say, in consumption.
Really important for all of us. So this isn't the first time that we've had these mismatches between time spent and investment. But in your experience, how does this opportunity present, to Canadian brand advertisers? How do they seize this differential to their own advantage?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not the first time. You've seen it with mobile. We see it with social. It's very pronounced with digital audio now. So it's not just a mismatch, though. I think it is a strategic blind spot because if it is where consumers are, then we need to be following them there. So it's a blind spot, but it can quickly become an opportunity. But I think it's also more than just time. It's also about quality. So it's not literally we're spending this much time, so therefore our budgets must follow. But if you think about digital audio, it is fortuitous in that it is immersive. It is contextually trusted, and it is high attention. So for that, it gets extra bonus points. So yes, it's where people are spending time, but it's also time well spent. So I think certainly brand marketers would be wise to consider that within their mix. It's an important part of brand building, where consumers are.
Yeah, I think when you really kind of just zoom out as a consumer, that audio experience is probably one of the most intimate moments that you have with media. It's yourself. You're listening to it. It's usually when you're detached from something else, and it just occupies such a more sort of close relationship and a proximity. So on that, Leanne, last month Spotify officially launched its Spotify Ad Exchange, SAX. Opening up programmatic access to its highly engaged, logged-in users, real-time auctions. Can you walk us a little bit through the journey, what brought Spotify to this point? And from your perspective, what does that ad experience look and feel like in 2025?
No, absolutely. It's a really exciting time at Spotify. And, it's undeniable the shift to automation. Programmatic advertising is driving the bulk of video and display ad spend. And we've already discussed it, digital audio, while a small portion of that has a huge opportunity. It's opportunity. And as a leader in audio advertising, we really believe Spotify is positioned strategically to help lead the future of what digital audio will look like. So we have evolved our ad platform to make it easier to create, buy, and measure across Spotify. And SAX, which we call Spotify Ad Exchange, there's three main capabilities when we think of the ad experience, and that's ease, flexibility, and addressability. So just touching on them a bit, what does this mean going forward for our platform? With ease, it's about format parity across all buying channels. And it's about increased access to Spotify inventory across audio, display, video, and coming soon podcasts. And then there's flexibility. This is about improved efficiency and really control on the buy side when we think of private marketplace and open marketplace. And there's more ways to find your audience on Spotify, to manage your reach and frequency, and to tap into first-party data on Spotify to add to your targeting strategies. And finally, there's addressability. So our inventory is now more addressable for targeting and measurement, thanks to industry-leading solutions. Trade Desk UID 2.0 is one of those solutions. And there's also opportunities for expansion across connected TV, OLV, and display. So we're really excited. We know advertisers love Spotify, and what we really want to do is give them the tools so they can buy, create, measure, and get real results across our platform. And when we think about partnering with the Trade Desk, this is an enormous opportunity for advertisers to include Spotify as part of their omni-channel strategy. So we're really excited. There's a lot going on.
Amazing. Now, Andrea, you have extensive experience in the B2C space, consulting with some of the largest CMOs and brands. But how do you see digital audio fitting into a holistic campaign strategy? So, what's its role? What makes it unique? And more importantly, how does it complement or impact other channels?
Yeah, I mean, I think your media strategy has to follow where your consumer lives, and that now includes digital audio. So it has a very important role, an increasing role in any omni-channel strategy. But it's not a silo. We tend to, talk about media in silos, but it isn't. It's really an amplifier, and that's because we see it really working at the upper and the mid-funnel level. So it works in conjunction with CTV, with display, and with others. So it helps drive brand recall, and that's because it really helps with the brand familiarity, in concert with the other media, and that's because it's so immersive and it's high attention. So it really plays on a number of levels, which makes it, an important part of any modern media plan.
Yeah, what we found on the trade desk side, just to augment what you're saying, is that the digital audio often is the sort of compounding media that allows CTV to work better, to allows display to work better. And it's one of these things from a case study standpoint, we're going to be rolling out more of this research, but when you are truly omni-channel as a brand, because your consumers are, they're not like, I'm in audio mode, I'm in CTV mode, I only work this way when I'm watching something, and I only work this way. And so making sure that when we're omni-channel, not multi-channel, that we're looking at how these channels play off each other, audio obviously plays a tremendous role there.
Yeah, with the consumer journey, it's there. So it's like this unique spray foam. It can come in and help, unify your full brand story. So it plays an important role.
So no surprise that a lot of the panels and conversations that we've had today is that in this sort of macro uncertainty, this moment that we're in, everybody wants to know how to do more with less. How do we get more value? How do we make things work better? And so from an advertiser's perspective, why does supply path optimization matter? And is that importance emphasized even more so now?
Yeah, I mean, I think any marketer would say all periods are times of high budget scrutiny. There's never a time where they're like, well, the budget doesn't matter. So it's, but in times of economic uncertainty or, challenge, then it's even, more challenging. So we have to be really tight. Yes, with the transparency of where our dollars are, but really it's about making those dollars work. So supply path optimization is yes about cost management, but yes, and it's about driving outcomes. And so it's not about the back end tech, it's really about the strategy and making sure that it is transparent and it is measurable, because ultimately it has to drive outcomes. You have to be where it has to be high quality placements, trusted environments, that all matters. So yes, it always matters, but even more so when budgets are tight.
Right.
There's no room for error.
It feels like now more than ever, and this was a phenomenon well before the last few months, but the CMO's office and the CFO's office have gotten very close.
Yes.
They're not down the hall anymore.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully more friends than frenemies, but yes.
So Leanne, Spotify, truly global company, over 675 million users. Do I have that right?
Yes,
Amazing.
78, but who's counting?
Every day it goes up. But you didn't achieve that by being, just a homogenous platform, right? And I think you touched on some of the personalization earlier, but Spotify is very tuned into local markets. And I refer to it as my Spotify. It's not I'm listening to Spotify, I'm listening to my Spotify. But my question for you then is, what does Spotify in Canada look like? Like, in other words, what makes Spotify a Canadian experience for the marketers in this room?
No, I love this question, Will. Spotify launched in Canada in 2014, and not just as a go-to audio platform, but also as a home for artists, for creators, for authors, and for listeners. And when we think of the last decade, there is no question the impact Canadian artists have had. Like, let's flex just a minute, right? We've got Toronto's own Drake. We've got The Weeknd, we've got Calgary's Tate McRae, we've got Quebec's Patrick Watson. These are incredible artists who have had charts at the top globally. But not only that, Canadian artists have made Spotify the third largest export of music globally. So that's impressive. The other thing I like is how Canadians embrace the platform and really support homegrown talent and diverse voices. So we have a playlist called Radar, which is really about elevating emerging artists. And we have a playlist called Equal and Grow, which support women artists and LGBTQ artists respectively. And I think that's really important and something we're really proud of. And now a fun fact, in any given week, Spotify Canadian users will listen to 600,000 distinct Canadian tracks. Now stay with me. That is 83 times the rate at which unique Canadian songs are played on Canadian radio. So there's no music distribution channel that comes close to exposing Canadians to that diverse Canadian content. It's something we're really proud of. Just the ability to enable culture and diverse communities and bring people together across our platform.
The operational, I would say, streamlining efficiency of a global platform, but that is just inherently local based on the markets and how they adopt it is fantastic. I'm going to remember that stat about Canadian artists. That's fantastic. Andrea, kind of in the same realm, same part of the question. So talked about the premium open internet being where all the best content is. This is the premium internet. These are the shows, the music, and the journalism that we love. And so how does that content background help marketers tell a uniquely Canadian story?
Well, I think forget the Canadian story, although that is important and even more so and more relevant today. It's where they tell their stories. It's because it's where, as we saw in the numbers that you shared up front, it's where Canadians are spending their digital lives. So if they're there, then we need to be there. And within it, of course, there's opportunity to tell whatever that story, Canadian or otherwise, in a trusted context. You need to be intentional, so it doesn't just happen. There are, lots of great local publishers, and in supporting that helps, build the local and Canadian media ecosystem. So that's all fantastic. But we do need to be really intentional about where our content is and how our stories are told. So the premium internet is a great way to do that.
Amazing. So close this out. I want to give everybody one more chance to kind of leave everybody with your perspective. So Leanne, from a publisher standpoint, what's the one key takeaway you want advertisers and their agency partners in this room to keep in mind as they consider their investments?
No, thanks, Will. Audio needs to be part of the omni-channel media mix. And because it provides something that no one else can do, which is being attached to the consumer journey 24/7. I also want to just say that there is a misconception that Spotify is audio only. I know I've talked about our other formats, but I want to really call out, when we pair audio with video, we see almost 30% incremental spend and 66%, that's 33% purchase intent increase and 66% incremental spend. So that is significant versus audio only. So we're excited about our Trade Desk partnership. We're going to continue to innovate in automation, and we're just really excited about bringing more value to our advertisers.
Amazing. And Andrea, closing words from the advertiser side. One message you want the fellow advertisers in this room to take away?
I think one is that media isn't a cost. So quickly we say, and media, but it is a strategy. So we have to be very, very intentional with that and make sure that we tell our brand stories in a way where, we have the attention, we have trust, and we have transparency. You are the company you keep, so we really need to sweat that. And a small plug, we are working on cross-media measurement industry initiative that is going to be groundbreaking, but does champion both measurability and transparency, which I know the Trade Desk cares deeply about. So that will be yet another tool to help us drive to make sure that our brands are living in safe worlds and driving value, which is what we all need to do.
Amazing. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you, Will.
Appreciate it.